girl with the dragon tattoo. That's a bad bitch, boy. Dragon's got a tattoo of her. Shit, that bitch is scary, man. And I think that's the reason why this series is so popular, because I think that's a character that everybody is fascinated with. Like, I remember when the actual Swedish version of this came out, and it is Swedish, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the original.
Yeah,
they
based on a best-selling book there first. I mean, the book was huge.
Yeah, the Millennium series, right?
Yeah, the Millennium Trilogy.
What is that? Because I don't know what that's about.
Millennium's the name of the magazine.
Yeah, I know it's a magazine, but the trilogy, it's a series of books.
That all centers around the characters of Lisbeth, the girl with the dragon tattoo. Although the original name of the book is actually The
Man Who Hate Women.
Woman, yeah.
Really?
It's weird. Yeah. They retitled all three of the books for the
No, the Cyrus version is Man Who Hate Woman. The series is called Man Who Hate Women.
Shut up.
You know all right, man. Come on now.
I'm glad you guys are filling in the blanks for me, because I'm like, okay, this is a big book. When did this happen?
It's
huge.
It was huge in Europe, and only a couple years back in America they start coming over here. And I guess for some reason, right off the bat, it kind of took off here. Like, I don't know, the pre-sale was convincing, and America bought into it. They were all bestsellers here as well. And there are three movies. The trilogy has already been made over in Sweden, where, like I said, we're in Europe and Sweden. They're huge. The movies were all giant hits. And so America, of course, never wanted to ignore someone else's success. It's like, hey, we got this guy. Mr. Fincher, step forward, please.
Yeah. Now, if I'm correct, like he was saying, co-host, this is the three books were hugely successful. But the thing is, didn't the author die?
The author,
before he
I believe, committed suicide.
Committed suicide?
Yeah, and which was weird because, like I said, this is before any of them were published. And he is an author who had stuff published before, but nothing that was ever really a hit. Pretty minor, really, like lots of magazine articles and short stories. And so they found these books among his possessions, and they turned into like some of the biggest hits of ever.
Like a book publisher came to his garage sale, just happened to be strolling by. They're like, wow. Actually, the author, whose name is Stieg Larsson, died from a heart attack after climbing 7 flights of stairs. It was just rumored that he committed suicide. Actually, I heard that this guy committed suicide when he found out how scary this chick was that he created.
He created a monster.
Yeah, he's like, I'm getting out, but she comes after my ass for real. Yeah. So the Swedish version of this film and the American version are not too different at least from what I've seen. Michael Blomkist, played here by Daniel Craig, finds his publication Millennium Magazine in jeopardy after losing a libel case to a billionaire industrialist. Now, potentially losing everything in his life, he is offered an opportunity he can't refuse. He's hired by a CEO, Henrik Wenger, played by Christopher Plummer, to rewrite his family's history, which might lead to why his great niece disappeared 36 years ago. Wenger also hires a goth hacker, Lisbon Salander, to dig into Michael's background, and she eventually ends up being his research partner when clues lead to a series of gruesome murders.
It is one of those stories, because you're right, Leon. Reading the synopsis, there's a point where you're like, okay, how is this going to be interesting to me? Yeah. Especially getting into a story, because even looking at that trailer had so much information in it.
Right.
But I was like, wow, they're really trying to sell this to the audience, because this trailer is like 15 minutes long.
I know.
I mean, and all these names, all these people, and watching the movie, I'm like, wow, there's something better grabbed me. The only one who I found really interesting was obviously the chick, just because
she got naked.
Yeah, she got naked. She's a goth chick who's like really smart, which is like, okay, all right, I'll buy into that. They did a good job of that. But overall, as far as like the mystery and everything surrounding it, I hate to say it, and I hate saying this about a Fincher movie and all the hoopla about the book, but after the film, I was just left scratching my head going, okay, so what's the big deal?
I saw it like you did the original on Netflix. Because everybody was talking about it.
Right.
And I didn't see it all the way through, I tell you. I've seen most of it. I didn't see the end. And this one is almost the same movie with a slightly better budget for what? A slightly better cinematographer.
Well, yeah, I was actually shocked how many, at least, scenes in the Fincher film almost felt like shot for shot, which I'm like, Fincher, really? Even though he did delve more into the mystery of it all, I thought he got a little bit more into the characters.
I would argue that it's the subtle touches that make all the difference, especially when you consider this really is the first part of a trilogy that is about the relationship between these, or centerpieces, the relationship between these two main characters and how it develops. Now, the European version, really, the biggest problem with it when you watch the next two films is you have a hard time believing that these two would even stay friends, really. There's like one moment of intimacy, and that's about it. You know, other than that, they're just kind of business associates. This movie, you really, in Fincher's version, I thought he really nails those little tiny little things that make clear that Elizabeth really does have a soft side. They also managed to create in her a sort of angel of death persona. Like in the original one, sure, it's clear this is the girl you do not want to fuck with because she will get revenge on you so many times worse than any shit you could dream up to do to her. But something about the way Fincher actually films these sequences, while they're not as graphic as they are in the original, they're even more disturbing.
Yeah, I mean, having read the book, I know I'm in a different perspective than you guys. But what I can say about Fincher's version is he does focus more on the girl with the dragon tattoo, and that she felt like. And what I didn't like about the Swedish version was like, okay, she's kind of a goth chick who rides a motorcycle, and I mean, she kind of does some mean stuff, but she's just too cute. She's a little too feminine. In Fincher's version, she seems very alien. Like, it's hard to nail her down. I mean, Rooney Mara is a better Lisbeth Salander than Noomi Rapace. Whew, I can get that out.
I think
You just made a posture right there.
But I mean, she does have that withdrawn, like, man, I cannot get a bead on this chick. She seems small and waifish, and yet that's why it's so shocking when she's able to commit such great acts of violence.
I'm not going to say I didn't like this. I do, but there's a moment where Daniel Craig, as a Michael character, goes and he sets up shop. You know, secludes himself to do some writing and the journalistic investigations and whatnot for this family. And then I feel like there's just not a whole lot going on.
Well, you clearly weren't interested in the mystery, and I was.
Well, I was. I mean, hold on, but you know, I was interested in the mystery, but I wish they had got to it. I didn't feel like looking for clues in real time. And even when it becomes a thriller, it's not like a thriller we haven't seen before. You know,
That's the biggest letdown.
Yeah,
It really does seem like, okay, wow, I have seen this a lot.
Look, I love Seven as much as the next guy, as much as you do, certainly. I mean, it's just a totally different kind of film. I mean, it's nothing like this. They're both about murder.
And I know, and don't get me wrong.
Yeah, you
So
can
please,
say like,
Mama from the
please,
train.
yeah, it ain't
You know,
seven.
and that's my
It's like,
fault.
nothing
And
is
please,
seven.
don't get me wrong. I understand.
I think it's a very competent movie, both versions of it. I'm sure the book is a very competent thriller too. It's just that all the hype that came with it for this movie series to be as popular as it is, I just don't see anything that distinguishes it from things that I see as better thrillers out there. You know, that being said, once it does pick up, I think, you know, even with me saying like, okay, I've seen it before, I still think it's very tense. There's situations that we see Daniel Craig in where you want to yell at him, get out of there, man. You know, and even when you calling him stupid, the killer even addresses it for the audience. And I was like, wow, that's great right there. Daniel Craig is great. We already said Rooney Mara is great. I think she gave one of the best performances I've seen this year by a female lead.
It was almost naked in its intensity.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, it was actually naked in its intensity.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And
That was hard
you
to
know, the
forget.
soundtrack by Trent Reznor
And
is